It was a really cool experience to show up on set, and right off the bat too, I was able to have kind of a very juicy storyline with Kirsten, and be involved in the whole, Zach Gilford Voight storyline, which was a big thing for these last 4 years.
Hello, my name is Gemma from Gemma Watches Stuff, and this is the podcast called I Don't Know What We're Talking About. And today I have with me the amazing RJ Hatanaka, who told me before I pressed record, because I was nervous about pronouncing the surname, that I just have to lead into the Japanese of it.
Yeah, it'll make it work. Always does, always does.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to have you on the podcast.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So the way this podcast works is it's called I Don't Know What We're Talking About, because the concept of the show is that before we jump on and hit record, that you have sent me 5 different topics, and out of those topics I'm going to pick one, maybe 2, depending on how exciting we get today, to work through, and you have absolutely no idea what we're going to be talking about today.
I do not. Looking forward to hearing what it's going to be.
The topics that you sent through were pretty broad. There were a few there and I was like, oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting. So a bit of a surprise, which is kind of nice. Now, we will definitely have to talk about Tyler Green and your role on Criminal Minds Evolution, your journey to audition all the way through. You've been playing that character for a few seasons now on the show, so we'll definitely have to cover that without a doubt. But the topic that I picked that I really wanted to jump into first was the best first job ever, Toronto Blue Jays ball boy.
Yeah.
And I think...
Yeah, I love talking about this. It's...
Let you roll. I am not going to lie. I had to go and Google what that is, because I'm based in Australia and baseball is definitely not something that is very prominent here. And so I had to go and Google what that was, because I had no idea.
So here's a question for you, okay? First of all, big baseball guy, so yeah, I could talk about this topic for forever. Liam Hendriks is a famous Australian baseball player, and Australia has a decent national baseball team. So being near Sydney, which I assume the national team would play out of, baseball's not part of the culture down there, really, in your experience?
Not really. I am also not a sport forward person. However, I think the majority of what you would find on, on the news or scrolling through Facebook or wherever you get your news from, when it's talking about sports that are happening in Australia, baseball is definitely not something that's ever mentioned. I mean, we've got cricket, we've got our football season.
Yeah, cricket's big. You know what? I honestly, when I was over in Australia last time, I watched some cricket on TV. I could really get into cricket. I'd love to go. Love it.
Yeah, I feel like if you could get into baseball, you could get into cricket. Although, look, very different, and there are people out there that are going to be fuming, going, no, they're not the same thing, and I know that. I know that. But we definitely... Look, I know that Australia has a national baseball team, and that's about the extent of my knowledge when it comes to baseball. I'm like, oh yeah, we got one of those, and that's about it.
Well, they're good. They're good, and they're getting better. And baseball is a big, it's becoming more and more of a world sport in recent years, and it's huge in Japan, it's huge in South Korea, it's huge, it's all over the place. And there's an Italian team that plays in the World Baseball Classic. It's quite big. I was over in Hungary. I've been over to Hungary many times, and they have a national team, and they have these pristine baseball fields over there. So it's like hockey, it's like football too, NFL football. It's becoming more and more worldwide.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it was your first job as a ball boy. How did that come about?
So when I was, I was in high school anyway, and I was playing on my high school baseball team. And my high school coach was an ex-major leaguer, an ex-pro baseball player. And he called me one Saturday morning, and it was funny. I had just been rejected by my local grocery store for like stocking shelves because I really wanted a first job. And they'd just been like, no, we don't need the help. And I was like, okay, that's okay. And then like the next Saturday, I got a call from my high school coach, and he said, hey, do you want to come down to the stadium to interview for this job? And just to back up, I was a huge baseball fan. My Jichan, my Japanese grandfather, watched every Blue Jays game forever. And so I grew up with a deep, deep love of the game, and my dad was a professional football player, American football or Canadian football, I should say. Um, and so it's a big sports family. So it was baseball and football and hockey and soccer were all part of my identity. And so I got this opportunity to go down to the stadium and go into this interview, go into the Blue Jays clubhouse, so a professional dressing room, get shown around, have an interview with the guy who managed the clubhouse. And they took me out on the field and had me play catch because a big part of the job is to dress up in the uniform, run out onto the field with the players, and help them warm up during the game. So you play catch with them, you run around with them, you basically do whatever they need you to do to be in the best game ready position. And so I played catch on the field, and then I got the job shortly thereafter. It was a very, very cool interview process, and I didn't even really know what I was getting myself into in terms of something that was going to last me for 6+ years. That brought great joy and great memories to my life.
Wow. So the thing I find most funny about this is that you got turned down from a grocery store to like stock shelves and that kind of thing. Like,
I did, and I was really excited too because it was like close to home, and I was like, I really want a job. I'm 15 and I want to start earning some money, um, and I think up until that point, the only like real job that I had had was mowing lawns with my brother around the neighborhood. But yeah, I wanted the grocery store job, and then it turned into this like amazing thing with, within a month there's 50,000 people in this stadium, and I was running out on opening day in the uniform with this team and playing catch on the field with these players, and it was like this huge sweeping experience. And for a teenager, who had never had never really had a job before, it was just such a wonderful thing.
yeah, to go from to go from being rejected to stock shelves to then working and playing like for like a major league baseball team in front of all like a stadium filled with people. Oh, that's crazy. When
It
people
was
say,
really
"Oh,
cool.
I had the best ever first job," I think you really did. You really lucked out with that.
Yeah, like it was a service job, right? It's you're a young kid helping these guys who are under huge amounts of pressure perform to their best, and everyone, there were like four or five of us who worked in the clubhouse. There was a chef, and um, there was me and another guy who kind of worked as the ball boy, bat boy, and then there's some clubhouse managers and things like that. But really, all our job was to help these players, and there were very humbling parts of the job too. Like it wasn't there were the glamorous parts where you're out on the field with these guys and playing catch and shooting shit and stuff like that. But you're also cleaning their shoes after they go home, and you're staying there and like getting all the hardened dirt off of their cleats for hours, and finishing laundry, like things like that were really good things to learn too. Like really good things to learn about real life and jobs and things like that.
The less glamorous parts of developing a good work ethic, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it was good. It was good for me. It was good
You
for me.
mentioned
And interaction, and really interactions too with like a big part of the job was dealing with these guys who are making millions and millions of dollars, who are under huge amounts of pressure, who are professional athletes and are in their mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, and then part of the issue with being a professional athlete is sometimes you finish being a professional athlete when you're 32, and that's you've made your money for a lifetime, hopefully, and hopefully you've kept it. And so there's unique pressures to being a professional athlete that I was able to learn about and observe and see how different guys dealt with me being a kid. you know Most guys were really, really generous with their time and energy, and even though they're under this immense pressure, and there were some good lessons in that.
you mentioned you were doing it for about 6 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, wow, that's a long time. Do you have within that time any memories of like unique experiences or specific games or specific activities that you did that have really stuck with you?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's okay. Do you have this thing? If you ever can't fall asleep, I'm a pretty good sleeper in general, but if you ever can't fall asleep, do you like have a place that you go
Oh, like
to calm yourself?
yeah, like counting sheep or just a good memory that helps you wind down or relax.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, definitely.
So for me, okay, I gotta build this. You're not okay. So after high school, I get out of high school at 2:30, and I would go to the stadium right away from high school every day. And there was this thing called early batting practice. Okay, and batting practice is exactly what it sounds like. There's a guy out there who's throwing the balls, and they practice hitting, right? And so because it's early batting practice, it's not mandatory for the team. And so really, it's the guys who are just either struggling or who are new to the team and want to make an impression, or just new to the team and wanting to continuously improve. So there's a wide open field, and all these guys are practicing hitting. And so there's a huge bucket of baseballs by the pitcher's mound that the pitcher's throwing. But all those balls are being sprayed all over the field, right? They're being hit everywhere. And someone needs to pick them up. But for me, as a 16-year-old who loves to run, loves to be in his body, and loves to move, I would go out there just with my glove and pair of shorts, um, and these balls would just be hit high, low, and I would just run sideline to sideline, uh, collecting them and just getting them back into the pitcher. There's like a whole process for that. But there's a specific memory where the roof in the Rogers Center, it's called in Toronto, the stadium, the roof retracts. And so there's like a half an hour process where the roof kind of slowly retracts. So in the summer months, the weather's beautiful. The wind is kind of swirling because we're by the water. So I have this moment of just like the roof retracting, the sun starting to poke through, the wind swirling, the baseball is being hit, and just running. And it is like one of the most peaceful things that I can imagine. So I use that sometimes in my work or in sleeping, something like that. It just kind of takes me to a place that I'm very fond of.
Even the way you're describing it, I can feel like that would be so calming and such a beautiful memory. And I'm like, I just want to be there. I want to experience that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's just really, yeah, I think everyone needs a place to go to that can center them in a way. What's yours?
There is a park that's got this big stone like cross and these big log like benches, and it overlooks the valley, and it's always just like it's they host like weddings and services and like different funeral services and things there, but like it overlooked this beautiful valley, and it was like half an hour drive away from the beach, up near Byron Bay area, which is like North New South Wales, a couple hours south of Brisbane. And it was like a little drive into the country. The drive was beautiful. You turn down this little unsuspecting dirt road in the middle of nowhere, and then it just opens up into this massive field, and there's this big stone cross and all of these wooden seats and this beautiful valley, and there's like trees and flowers, and it was always just such a little cute space in the middle of nowhere where you wouldn't think, down this dirt road in the middle of nowhere, this beautiful open air cathedral. And it's always been a place where I used to visit when I lived that way. I used to visit a lot more just to like study or to relax, or if I needed a break, or whatever I was working on, I needed to clear my head or go for a walk.
That's amazing.
It's this beautiful spot, and it's been a while since I've been there. But as soon as you were like, "Do you have a spot?" That was the first place that came to mind, and I was like, "Oh, I miss that spot." Just the air and the sunshine, and yeah, beautiful.
I think it's really useful to have spots like that. I mean, life can get stressful and we can get lost in the minutia of all that, but it's to have a place that kind of grounds you is just makes you breathe different. Is I think a really nice thing. That sounds beautiful.
It could definitely help in times of stress and anxiety as well, to have somewhere, even just a memory to be able to hold on to and center you and help you breathe and remember, ground yourself now in the moment as well. So it's a really good, technique to hold on to something.
Did you live? I was just in Brisbane last year and a half ago, about Brisbane and Sydney, because my little sister, did her studies in Brisbane.
Oh, amazing. Very cool.
Um, and so we went there to pick her up and move her home. Uh, beautiful, beautiful,
Did she
beautiful
like
place. I
Australia?
mean, Australia. What's that?
Did she like Australia?
Oh, she loved Australia. I think had we not gone, I think that's part of the reason why I went to meet her, just to ensure that she did come home. Now she has, wonderful people. Um, just the attitude is a little more relaxed and more. I think she just found it really, really a welcoming place for her. And yeah, I'm happy she made it home.
Might never have
Yeah.
gotten her back. I mean, we like to pride ourselves on what we call the Aussie spirit, which is definitely that more laid back, she'll be right, mate attitude. So I'm glad
I mean, you guys certainly bring that worldwide too. Australians are everywhere. I
that's
lived
true.
in New
Where
York
I'm
for many
from.
years. I live in LA now, and it's yeah, I'm from Toronto, and it's like Australians are everywhere and good people.
It's true. We like to travel. I'm glad that we're making a good name for ourselves all around the world. So that's good to hear. And I'm
Yeah,
glad your sister
yeah,
enjoyed
yeah.
visiting. And I'm glad that you've been here and that you've had a chance to come and visit. You know,
Sydney, honestly, Sydney, I was walking around Sydney and I was like, oh, I could live here in a heartbeat. I would love to shoot something around it. Like, oh, what a beautiful place.
hopefully we can get you back sometime. Come back for a visit.
Absolutely.
I'm going to pivot a little bit now because going from ball boy for a major league professional baseball team as a first job to an actor is quite a big pivot. So how did you go from that being your first job to obviously now you're a well established actor? So how did you go from it's a big pivot?
So I went to college I went to University of Toronto. Um, and during that time, during those 4 years, I was the ball boy the entire time. So that was a really nice thing to be able to balance because I was able to do this thing I love while I was going to school that I loved very deeply. And once I graduated, I think we all come across these points in our life where we're needing to make a choice as to where the path we're going to go on, right? And I loved baseball, and I really it's funny. I was having dinner with somebody the other night whose brother is one of the presidents of baseball operations for one of the major league teams, and I was like, I would love that job too. I'd love to work in baseball and work in the front office and scouting and things like that. And that was definitely a path that I could see myself going on. But in high school, I had started acting in elementary school, and and I loved it in elementary school. And then in high school, I started to kind of deepen this love for it. It didn't feel, because I grew up in Toronto, it's a bit of a different thing. I didn't know many actors. I didn't really have many examples of a life in acting and what that meant and what was possible, and could you have a family and all these things that I knew that I wanted. So uh, there, sorry, there's a point to where I was going with that. Sorry, what? Yeah.
Talking about how you pivoted from baseball and working as a ball boy and that being your first job, first experience, and then even getting to do that. Now you mentioned you got to do that at college.
Yes, right. So yes,
That,
yes. Thank you for getting me back on track.
yeah,
So I was at the University of Toronto. I had to make a choice, kind of as I was graduating, and when I was graduating, I decided to leave the Toronto Blue Jays because I booked my first acting job, which was way on the east coast of Canada in this place called New Brunswick, and I was touring New Brunswick with this group of actors as like an acting troupe, and I loved it. Um, and during that time, I was auditioning for school. So I auditioned for the National Theatre School of Canada, which is a very prestigious place in Montreal. And I decided that I really wanted to double down on the training, on the acting training, the theater training, um, just to just to give myself a grounding, right? I think acting is a very overwhelming industry for some, and I think before you've acted, finding a way in is really hard, and it's a very individual journey for people. So when I was in New Brunswick, I was kind of dreaming of that and wanting to get more training and more grounding and more just things to kind of bolster this what sounded like a very difficult career to go into. Um, and so went to National Theatre School for a year, and then I got into NYU, for a graduate program. And so I moved down to New York, and it was when I moved to New York that I started meeting all of these people who had had done this in every way you could think of. Some were famous, some had built amazing lives in theater that they were super satisfied creatively, and lived in the East Village. Have you been to New York?
Yes, recently actually. Last year I was there, but only for a few days.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I It was such an experience. It was such an experience. I mean, obviously you've been to Sydney, which is like the biggest city that we have, and so nothing to compare it to. And then walking around New York was just mind blowing, crazy. Like it was so different, so many people, such a unique experience. I don't think I would cope living there. I don't think I could ever live there just because
That's a very popular opinion.
so much fun to visit. It was so amazing to visit, and I did all the touristy things. Like I saw the Empire State. I walked around, I went and saw all the massive skyscrapers, and you're taking it all in, and just the amazing people that you see on the street, like walking around. Went to Central Park. Like I did some of the touristy things as much as I could squeeze into my tiny little 4-day trip. And after all of that, and then finally coming home and going, wow, I could never live there. But I loved seeing it just to experience it. There's no other
It's
place
very
quite like
compact, right?
it.
It's what? Sorry?
Yeah, there's no other place quite like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. And moving there for graduate school was all of that. It was very over. I mean, Toronto's a big city too, but yeah, New York is very compact, and Manhattan in particular is moving into Manhattan was like whoa. Um, but I got to spend 3 years doing nothing but being in this amazing graduate program. And so I always consider that like one of my big breaks is getting into that program because it's very competitive, and NYU, Yale, and Juilliard are kind of the three of the big ones. Uh, and so getting to spend 3 years really doubling down on the craft, really meeting as many people as I could. Um, I came out of there with a mentor who's helped me out a lot, just kind of gaining context in the industry as I hit various different levels. Um, so that's kind of what cemented the pivot. I think I was calling myself an actor before that, and I was, but it was moving to New York and being in that program that made me really say it with confidence, and started the path to where I am now.
And I think you are absolutely correct. And in the experience that I've had in working with actors and interviewing actors, there's no one clear path to get booked. There's no one clear path to
Totally.
become an actor. And if I've learned anything from interviewing people and learning about their stories and their journeys and what led them to either wanting to become an actor or a voice actor and work in those roles, or just that's where their course of study led them to. There's so many different ways and so many different approaches. And one thread, though, that I think ties everybody together is making connections and meeting people. I think has been something that's helped everybody, no matter if they've studied classically or they've done a program like you have, or they've studied at like a college level, or whether or not they've just been, independent and never been signed with anybody and have just been out there hustling the entire time. Everything in the way that people become actors, the common thread among everybody is making those connections, having a mentor, meeting people, working with people, getting to know directors, casting agents, like making connections and being genuine as a person about who you are and what you've done, and then just meeting people and getting your name out there and connecting with people and being true and authentic to who you are in the way that you do that, I think is a common thread among people.
I think that's very true, and I think that people can get um, sidetracked by trying to be something else. I think that that's a huge temptation. I think that's true in every job, though. I mean, all of my siblings do different things, and we talk about this a lot. Like it's each job, if you want to be at the top of it, or if you want to be a significant player, each job has its own challenges, right? And it's really hard to cultivate that belief in yourself. And really, and we hear this a lot, but I think it's really hard to believe is you are your best bet, right? Like it's there's nothing else you can be. If you're trying to pretend to be something else, you're not going to be your authentic self, and you're going to lose your special sauce.
It sounds incredibly cliched, but it is that way for a reason because it's true. And
Yeah,
in every job, in every space, yeah, being yourself and being open and honest about what you can and can't do, or what your goals and strengths and weaknesses are, and
yeah,
being open and honest about that, I think is really, it translates to being a good person, and it translates to every job in every aspect,
yeah.
creative or not. So yeah, I think you.
And it's really like, and just to wrap up the ball boy thing in the most roundabout way ever, the learning those skills and learning to be yourself in high pressure environments and perform to a high level under pressure is just a skill that can translate in any environment, right? I think we all have pressures in our lives. We all have pressures in our jobs, and taking a breath and going to that calming place is something that's really a beautiful thing to be able to do.
I love that. And I think this is a nice spot to pause in our conversation before we divert the train again over to criminal
Sure.
minds. We'll play a little bit of a game. This game is a game that
Okay.
we play with all of the guests that we have on I Don't Know What We're Talking About, and it is called This or That. And basically, what I have for you is I have two different things. I have this or that, and all you have to do is pick one and explain why you've picked that one. And I've got three questions for you.
Great.
First one for you is movies at home or movies at the cinema?
Mm. I like watching. I watch movies at home more, but I mean nothing beats the cinema experience. Oh, that's a tough one. I would say movies at home because I really when I work out, I either watch sports or I watch movies. So that's like a very great time for me because I work out at home and I watch things. So let's go with that just because it's such a integrated part of my life that happens a lot. So I'll go with that.
I think there's a unique experience to watching movies at the cinema, and it's that magical experience that you can only get by going to the theatre or to the cinema to watch it with other people. But there's also something really cool about being able to put a movie on and, stack jobs. You've got to clean your house, you've got to do the dishes, you've got to work out, you're trying to work on other things, or you just want something in the background, you just want something else going on. And
I
so
agree. You're talking like the realism of life versus like the magic of going to the cinema. And I agree with you. There is something about watching a movie in a movie theater with other people where you can kind of feel each other, and theaters like that too. It's like you're feeling the audience. You're all having this experience in a room together, which is that's rare and beautiful.
But also, if you have one of those 9 to 5 jobs, or even a shift work job, at the end of a long week working, you come home, you get into your bed, you put on your comfy slippers, you get some popcorn, you get your favourite snack, you curl into bed, and you put on your favourite movie. There's also nothing quite like that too. So
That's true.
there's
This is true.
definitely arguments to be made for both. Question number 2 for you: hero or villain?
To choose, let me clarify the question. Is this who I would rather play? Is this who I would rather watch? Is this who I get more enjoyment out of watching?
I'm going to let you interpret that however you see fit.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna go with hero. I'm gonna go with hero because I think that there's I'm gonna interpret it as in story. Villains are kind of have built-in conflict and built-in, and it's really I think hard to have a compelling hero that's flawed in a way that makes the story work, uh, but is still very interesting and really someone who people can root for. So I will go hero. Yes.
So I have asked the hero or villain question of every actor that I've had on the podcast, and I've never given a specific way to it. I've just been like, "That's open. You answer that however you want." And the answers have been so amazing and so ranging in how people interpret that question. And I always find it lots of fun because some people are like, "Oh no, for my own personal story, I want to be the hero," or other people have gone, "No, as an actor, I want to play a villain because I find the character more complex."
Yeah, I think too, as specifically as actors, we're like, oh, what do I want to play? Um, yeah, I think heroes to me, I identify more with that, with that kind of arc. That's the arc I spend a lot of energy aspiring to. So I think let's lean into that one.
Very cool, very cool. All right, final question for you for our game: time travel or teleportation?
Are we doing the thing with teleportation where it's like, oh, you could teleport into a wall and like, well, then you're dead. You know what I mean? That's always the.
That's a risk. There is a risk. Yeah,
We all remember Nightcrawler, right? Nightcrawler had that thing where he's like, I've got to like know where I'm gonna,
that's right.
or else,
You never know where you're going to end
um,
up. But then
I
again,
do. You know what?
you know,
I actually have a clear answer to this. There are people in history in my family that I would like to have met. I think the lore around them and the choices that they made that helped my family in various ways were so significant that I would like to go back to those times.
cool.
Yes.
There's risk with either. I feel like teleportation, you end up in a wall. I mean, time travel, the whole Back to the Future series, you could unravel the very fabric of space and time. I mean, you've got risks with either of these, but I
That's true. And you know what? I gotta say, like, I don't really know the rules of time travel. You know, in all those time travel movies where they're like, they're like, oh no, you broke a rule. Like, I don't know many of those rules. I know there's something about like you shouldn't, you know, crush a like bugs and stuff like that. You know, I know that that often gives issues,
butterfly effect.
but yeah, it's. I feel like I would come back to a troublesome situation.
I feel like no matter what, very true. However, I do like the answer of being very personal in that being able to time travel, not to go back and make $1 million or go back and effectively change history, but just to have the opportunity to go back and meet people that were significant to you in your story and your journey is kind of a beautiful reason.
Yeah, that's kind of, I've been asked the question like, if you could meet one person in history, who would that be? And I think it really is yeah, it is those people from my family that would be probably the most impactful to my own knowledge base.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you for playing our little game. And we've got a little
Yeah,
bit
of course.
of time left with you, so we are going to jump on to another topic that you sent through. We're going to smash out two topics in one episode. We're on a roll today.
Great.
We're going to jump to, of course, none other than Tyler Green from Criminal Minds Evolution, which is the reboot from the original Criminal Minds series, which continues the story on. For those that don't know, I'm sure you could probably give more. How has your experience been since the audition for that role and landing that role and where you're at now?
It has been an amazing 4 years now that I've been working on this character, that I have been lucky enough to be on this show. It's an interesting thing joining a show with that's been going for. When I joined it, it had been 15 seasons.
I was going to say nearly two
Um,
decades now, correct? Yeah.
yes, it's we're waiting on an official renewal for season 20. But yes, it will be season 20, which is a pretty huge accomplishment and a nice testament to all the people I work with, certainly. Um, but yeah, so when I auditioned for it, I was actually in Hawaii when I auditioned for it. Um, do you know how the whole self tape process works?
I
All
do.
that good stuff.
Explain a little bit in that process for our viewers of what a self taping is and how that works.
Yeah. So okay. So back in the day, I mean, it's always changing depending on the technology. But back in my early career, I should start there. Uh, you almost always went into the to an office. I was in New York when I really started auditioning a lot, so I would go into Midtown. I'd go into the CBS office and go up to the whatever 36th floor, and there'd be a waiting room there with a bunch of people, some of which look like you, some of which are auditioning for different roles, and they're all talking to themselves, and they're all um, running to the bathroom to fix their one piece of hair that's sticking up, and, and all this good stuff. So very nervy environment, but you go in, and the benefit of that, and why I loved that so much, is because you go and get to meet the casting directors, and you get to go and talk to them for a short time because they're very busy and working hard, trying to find the right actor for these projects. And you're handed, anywhere between 6 pages and, God, I've had like 16 pages, and you've had a day or two to work on them, maybe three if you're lucky. Um, and so you bring in this work that you've prepared and you perform it for these casting directors, and they have a video camera that they record you on. And it's really, really nice because, like I said, you get to talk to the casting directors. You get to know them. They get to know your face. They get to know your general disposition, and see your work live. And in recent years, kind of before COVID, they started to transition to kind of a hybrid where some people would be brought into the room and some people would be sent a self-tape, which means that here are the 6 pages, 10 pages, whatever. Prepare them by yourself, put yourself on camera, cut it together, and send it in as your audition tape. And I wasn't a huge fan of that because it meant that I wasn't going in the room and I wasn't getting to know the people, which is half the fun of anything. um,
There's nothing quite like being there in person and making that initial first impression when you meet someone.
yeah, yeah, it's really hard to, and I think everyone was skeptical in the industry about whether you could read an actor's work and their disposition and hire them in the same way. But I think it's proven to be actually quite a good tool in doing that. And so since COVID, the industry is almost exclusively self-taping. There are still rooms, and especially when you get to a certain level of audition, there are still those places to go now. But so I was in Hawaii and I got a tape for Tyler Green, and of course, iconic show. Um, it didn't give too much about the character arc because in shows like this sometimes they like to leave it open, right? They like to see what the actor brings to the table, see the chemistry, and kind of go from there. um, and so I really wanted it, of course, and it was a recurring part. It was, I think, three episodes maybe guaranteed, and then with the option for more. um, And so I sent in my tape and waited a couple of days and got a pretty quick response that I was going to have a chemistry read with Kirsten Vangsness, your former guest. Um,
Yes, we love
and of course she's great. She's amazing, and she has an amazing rep around town, and she is truly 100% herself, which is a very rare thing these days. Um, And so I prepared the audition material for this chemistry read, and we had a chemistry read over Zoom. So it was the showrunner and some of the executive producers, casting, and we were all on the Zoom together, which was actually, and you would think over Zoom chemistry reads like won't work, but I've done them a bunch now. I think for every series regular job I've done in recent years, and you can sense when they go well. Um, and Kirsten is such a generous person, and so I walked away from that being like, oh man, I really hope I get this because I would love to work with her and I'd love to work with those people, and everyone was just so kind on the Zoom, and I got the job shortly thereafter. So it was similar to the ball boy experience of running out and being on the field with these established people. It was a really cool experience to show up on set, and right off the bat too, I was able to have kind of a very juicy storyline with Kirsten, um, and be involved in the whole Zach Gilford Voight storyline, which was a big thing for these last 4 years. Um, yeah, and it was just really like a delightful entrance into the show. I'm very fond of these people.
Yeah. What was it like stepping into the show knowing that it had already been going for, 15 years and you're working with other actors who have been working together for the entire 15 years that the show has been going on, and then you being someone brand new, fresh, coming into the show? What was that experience like?
I would say two things. One, because I was only guaranteed 3 episodes, it's kind of fun going into that because you really have nothing to lose, right? It's like it's an environment where I may they were like, well, you might die, you might like there's all these different ways your character can go, and so it's a very fun challenge to be like, I'll do what I can about that, right, and really give it a go. Um, and while I was doing that, it was really really nice that everyone on set is unbelievable, and the cast is unbelievable for sure. The crew, a lot of them have been working together for a very long time, and to have there's probably 200 people who work on the show. Um, and they always say this starts from the top, right? I think with any job, any CEO, any showrunner, and the showrunner of Criminal Minds, Erica Messer, is a wonderful boss, wonderful, wonderful person, and she creates an environment where people are really able to bring their own skill set to the show and make it better. And that's a hard thing to really make happen with 200 people, and she really has done a great job at that. So I can't imagine it going better than it did. Um, Amazing group of people, and of course, 3 episodes became, I think it was 6 episodes, and then they pulled me in and were wanting to sign me on long term, which was a great moment.
And I believe now your
Uh,
character is a regular part of the team, and although season 19 has been recorded and finished, is not aired yet, so we're excited to see what happens with your character and your role through the newest season when it comes out soon, hopefully.
for sure. I mean, I think that the arc that they've given me of being this kind of difficult character, kind of traumatized guy, to becoming a part of the FBI in such a short period, presented them with a lot of challenges that I think they had fun navigating, and presented me with a lot of challenges that I certainly had a lot of fun navigating. So, um, yeah, I mean, season 19 is great, and I'm assuming we'll get an air date pretty soon. So I encourage people to watch it because it's a good one for sure.
Definitely. Amazing. I also want to touch on another thing. You've had some opportunities to do some voiceover work. I know you were in the reboot for Fairly Odd Parents as well, and you got to do some voiceover work. How was your
Actually, so the Fairly Odd Parents, yes, I have done voiceover work. Is really really fun. One of the first voiceover things I ever got to do was a hockey commercial, and it was like fresh out of grad school, and I just got to riff on just on hockey all day. It was really fun.
Of course it was happy, of course.
Um, but the Fairly Odd Parents was it was actually live action, um, and so I was able to play the dad on that, which was great fun. But there were animated elements to the show, and so it was kind of an interesting hybrid. But yeah, learning about the voiceover world, learning about all that stuff is really it's just nice to learn about the different parts of this industry.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, RJ, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to chat to you, and I see your experience go from Ball Boy all the way through to Criminal Minds Evolution now, so that's very exciting. If people want to follow you on Instagram to find more about Criminal Minds or any other shows that you've done or worked on, how can they find you not only on Instagram, any other socials or platforms as well?
Yeah, Instagram. I think all my socials are RJ Hatanaka at RJ Hatanaka, and they should follow me there. Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate you giving
Hey,
me
thank you, and thank you for being so sharp so early in the morning over there.
bright and early, making the time zones work. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Talk again. Bye.